Looks like the chickens feel about the same way I do about the radish tops. Not my favorite thing to eat. But those have been sitting in the basket for a couple of days, so they're a little wilted. I'm gonna go ahead and harvest the rest of the radish today, and I'm gonna just break them off the top and give it to them all fresh, and they probably will like it a lot better. The ducks are out on the pond again today. It's such a cool sight. And I got all this done. You can see I started to take my path and pull it back up into the bed. These beds have all been raised up off the ground with the paths lower in between, but over time they settle back down. This is a great reason why I want to have boards along my beds, to have them be actual raised beds and not just hilled beds. But I've got the sugarcane covered now. I've got the first asparagus bed completely weeded and covered. The second asparagus bed and the third asparagus bed are partially cleaned out. We got all the blackberry out of this edge, and a lot of these sticks right in this bed are not the light colored. The light colored ones are asparagus, but those darker colored ones that stand up and are bigger, those are solidago. So I'm gonna have to pull those out by the root, and all of this creeping Charlie has to be hand pulled by the root. The chickens won't eat it, the goats won't eat it. It's nothing I can do other than to hand weed it, unless I had a flame torch weeder. Then I could totally just come through here, burn it all back, and it would kill it for good. But I don't have one of those. Maybe Santa will be bringing one for Christmas. You hear that, Ryan? And another reason why I can't bring the animals in here, especially the goats, is because we do have this elderberry bush in the center of it all. So unfortunately that means everything has to be done by hand. So I need to get my old pots cleaned up, throw away this old chair, I guess, because it's been broken for quite some time, and just kind of get things organized and ready for a wonderful spring production. I'm not gonna do that today. Today I have in mind something else. I want to get those radishes pulled, and I'm thinking that if I've got that ground freshly pulled, that I could probably freshly plant. Here in Georgia, we're able to plant some cold hardy things in the winter. If it gets too cold, it could kill it though. So I'm gonna finally break out that cold frame I got on clearance and get it set up and see how I can do a cold frame over the winter seeds to help keep them thriving through the rest of the winter. There were some people that asked to see the blackberry up close and what it looks like in the winter. It often turns purplish, but it looks very much the same as it does in the summer. Just the color of the leaves will change to a darker color, or they'll fall off completely. For the elderberry in the winter, sometimes it holds on to a few leaves on the tips, but for the most part, the leaves are gonna be gone, and you're gonna have to identify by the trunk. Elderberry is kind of easy for me to identify by the trunk because, whoops, that's a blackberry branch mixed in. Don't misidentify that. But they have these bumps all along the trunk. And just the branching pattern alone, I can often tell an elderberry from a mile away. If the elderberry is holding on to leaves, this is what it looks like. For those of you who don't have the pleasure of having creeping Charlie, I can show you just how difficult it is to get these weeds pulled. They run in runners, and at each joint they root. So they have roots all along them. They're completely filled with roots. So they hold on really well. So they break off where those roots are, and that actually starts a whole new plant. So it's very, very difficult weed to get under control. Not to mention that it grows really, really fast, and it stays green all winter. It doesn't die. It continues doing its invasive properties all winter long. And this is what the leaves look like. They're very fragrant. They smell like mint, you know, like an herb. There is some edible and medicinal properties to it, but not enough for all this. Okay, I'm thoroughly confused. So I got two different ones, and they give the assembled dimensions, the width, the depth, and the height. But that doesn't make sense to me. What do they mean by depth and height? Isn't that one or the other? Because this one gives length, width, and height. That makes sense. So it is kind of narrow. This is the growing tunnel. It's kind of narrow and skinny when I measure out 31 inches. It's not that wide. It's going to be smaller than my 4-foot beds. But if this is 96 inches wide, that's huge. Maybe that is meant to be the length of this one. That makes more sense, that it would be 36 inches wide. So they just have it labeled wrong. I don't know which one to set up. I should probably set up both of them eventually, but if I'm just doing one project today, I'm not sure which one to start with. I'm gonna have to think on that a minute while I do my goat chores. Yeah, I have to grind up their food to make it so that they can eat it. And there's not as much waste that way. When I give them just the bigger baby pellets, they're like, yeah, these are hard to eat. They have tiny beaks. All right, I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna turn off this heat lamp because I noticed that the red glow when I'm editing looks so different in the coloring. So this is to show you guys a little better representation of the colors of these new ones from my Shire Farms. Aren't they beautiful? I don't know if you can see. I guess I could zoom in. There we go. They're just gorgeous. Gorgeous colors. We've got some red ones. I don't know what they call them. I need to figure out which ones are which. These ones are hiding in the corner from me. Come on guys, come eat. They're beautiful. I think I'm gonna need a bigger basket. Not bad for already harvesting as much as I already have, and for a late fall radish planting. So this just goes to show you it's never too late to get things in the ground. There are some baby carrots and a few kale plants that have self-seeded themselves in here from having kale in this area last year. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to weed around those plants I want to keep and create areas for new seeds to go in the ground and put that greenhouse tunnel on there, or cold frame tunnel, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so now I know how far I have to pull weeds. Don't want to do more work than I have to. If I can get just those small little winter weeds pulled in between the carrots, then I can go ahead and plant my winter seeds in between. So something I do every time I go to plant a new area, or plant an area again I should say, is redo my paths. You can see there's a good 4 inches of nice high quality compost This compost is created by what I used in my paths the previous season. So if you look, you will see there are still some big pieces of wood chips left. What we do is we line the paths with paper feed bags or cardboard or paper, and then we top dress it with wood chips. So the places where there weren't carrots growing, I was able to add this nice compost back to this bed, but I'm having to add more of it to this side. So usually I do one scoop that way, the other scoop that way, but I didn't want to smother any carrots. So I'm working my way down. I'm not going to do the whole length. I'm just going to do the length of this greenhouse just to get this up and ready. So this method served a double purpose for me. It gave me compost to add to my soil in the beds, and it also gave me the ability to create a good path. And in so doing, I actually smothered most of the weeds I would have tried to pull. So reducing my workload is pretty important to me. Something you may find interesting is that my soil is not good soil by nature. You get 4, 5, 6 inches down and it's solid. It's a very sandy clay, but it is still not something you can plant in easily. All this thick layer of compost has been added in from stall cleanups and from the wood chips we've added along the way. So keep adding organic matter to your soil, and eventually you'll have this gorgeous black gold too. There you have it. Now I just need to add the mulch on top and we've got a new walkway. I may or may not get to that today. Let's get this thing put together, huh? Seriously guys, there's no instructions in here. I double checked. Ooh, maybe they're wrapped up inside of the tarp. Oh, they are! They're in the tarp. Praise God. I was about to figure this thing out anyway though, because I was like, there's only 2 of these. These must be the ends. This must be for the ends on the corners. That makes sense. I could have figured this out on my own, but I'm so glad there are instructions. I'm gonna use them. Alright guys, I think I can do this. And I was right about the ends, so I think I could have figured this out on my own actually. I'm proud of myself. But now I have a guide to follow, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. To undo the tarp top and get that on there and hope that the wind doesn't try to pull it out of my hands. So I think before I add that, I should probably sow some seeds. So I've got some new seeds from Baker Creek. My friend Jess at Roots and Refuge brought these for me. Wonderful gift that she shared with me. She has great connections at Baker Creek and gets lots and lots of seeds. So I'm very fortunate that she was nice enough to share them with me. So I'm gonna try some cold hardy winter greens. I've got Toscano, kale, arugula, and Mizuna mustard, and some flamboyant radish. I can't wait to see how these do. So I basically loosened the soil and got the majority of the weeds done being careful not to disturb the carrots, and that was a little harder than I thought it would be. But we've got a few weeds left, but we've got a few carrots left too, so it's a win-win. I'm gonna go ahead and plant these seed now. Just kind of making this level and smooth, and then I'm gonna put some furrows to plant my seeds. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this Toscano or Lacinato or what's the other name? Dinosaur kale. These are all pretty much categorized the same. I'm gonna plant that here in this section, and then a little bit of the other things in the next two sections. Kale seeds, I like to plant just a little couple every few inches. That should do it. Don't want them too close together, but I also don't want to have poor germination and end up with not enough. I have a tendency to overseed things, especially things like greens and roots, because I can always go through and thin them for salads and eat them when they're young. So, just a few little kales to get our family through the winter before the spring months allow us to grow a lot more. All right, I'm gonna do the arugula in this section and the mustard in this section, and I'm gonna top seed both of these sections, maybe all three, with the flamboyant radish. I like to seed radish in the same furrows as other plants because they give me a good indication of where I planted, especially when I have all these weird patches of carrots. All the seeds in the ground. Now I'm just gonna lightly rake over them. All of these plants were spaced about a couple of inches apart, and they're just going to be lightly covered. So when I make those furrows and just lightly rake over, everything gets planted without any issues. Oops, I pulled a carrot out. I will rebury that little carrot. Don't despair. Now they just need a good watering, and I'll cover them up, and we should have some wonderful, delicious greens in a short amount of time. Got some more radishes coming, so I'm gonna probably do some roasted radishes for dinner tonight, and I probably have enough that I need to go ahead and make some fermented radishes. If you have not tried fermented radish, I highly recommend it. They're really nice as a pickle. All right, let's see if I can get this cover on this thing. All right, I think I got it. So that's growing greens in a cold frame in December. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please like, comment down below if you have any questions. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Ring that bell so you get future notifications about all our garden adventures. Thank you guys for watching. You know the drill. We'll see you next time on Wholesome Roots.